Hey guys, it's Brindley Tucker and Monica Reynolds, the infamous Monica Reynolds, who is joining us. I mean, I did tell our viewers last week that you stood me up for Sarah Palin.
I know. What are you going to do?
I mean, what are you going to do?
Yeah. So Mo Anderson and I were up there and she spoke on culture, which was really fun on Saturday. We had a good time. She and I were bantering back and forth about culture. And
Do you have any
I asked her, well, I asked her a question because it was kind of her and I and me asking her questions in the audience every now and then had the courage to ask her a question. And I said, so Mo, what do you do? This was just awful. So Mo, what do you do if someone's out of culture and uses a lot of profanity in the office? Oh my gosh. Everybody in the room went and pointed at these two gals and said, oh, and I was like, oh, I felt so bad for them. And Mo basically didn't say they were despicable, but she said something to the effect that, it was not classy and it was, beneath them. I mean, she used two words and I can't even think what they were because they were so cutting, because they both left there going, oh my God, I've been stabbed. But they did realize that they needed to stop using, profanity, and they were using the F-bomb, I guess, all over the office. So I guess they've stopped because they realized when Mo said that. So of all the things for me to choose to give an example of how you confront someone, that had to be one where everybody in the office, everybody in the seminar started laughing. It's pretty funny.
Well, I think we all kind of need that reminder every once in a while.
Yeah. So she started talking about that. And then the next day, I did a seminar with Denny Grimes, who's a bold coach, and we did a lot of objection handlers. And so people learned a lot of objection handlers. So that was fun. So but now I'm back and I'm excited to talk to everyone today. And so Brindley has a great subject that she came up with. And it's a lot of evaluation of two subjects we're going to talk about real quickly. What are they, Brindley?
Yeah, so what I've been finding on my calls, and I was telling Monica, is that we're putting systems in place and then we're not going back and inspecting what we expect with those systems. So Monica and I said, we need to start with the two most critical systems in the business for admin, aside from database, because that's a pretty big one to tackle, is your listing management process and your pending process, or your contract to close, right, Monica? Because what happens sometimes is we throw a checklist out there, we set it, we feel like things are running at a good pace, so we don't go back and inspect. And then we have all these inefficiencies and waste in our business.
Yeah, so in PRIA, which is starting in 2 weeks, and the Perfect Operations team starts right after Mega Camp, we talk about CANI, which kind of comes from Tony Robbins, I guess, when I think about it, which means constant and never-ending improvement. You must never think something is done, it's in the box, we're good. Especially with the changing technology, especially with the technology that allows such a high level of efficiency. And then sometimes you have to evaluate some of the things you do and you go, who does this benefit? Why are we doing this? Is there a benefit to the client is my first question. Yeah. If the answer is no, is there a benefit to the agent? Well, no, really, we just always done it this way. Well, why are you doing it this way? What benefit is that? Absolutely. So really evaluate all those little things that are there that have been there for years. And then the question is, if Brindley and I came to your office today, what's missing? Would you scramble if you knew we were coming next week to fix some of your systems? What would be the things that you're missing?
Absolutely. And I think it's also asking ourselves constantly, how would it improve agent satisfaction if we were able to get even like compliance approved faster? How would it improve customer satisfaction if we were able to increase our communication times or our turnaround times on negotiations, right? Asking yourself those specific questions, because I guarantee if we go into our systems and start asking the questions of how improving the process could improve our GCI, our customer or agent satisfaction, I think we'd be pretty surprised.
Yeah, and the bottom line is it's about customer experience now. So I want you to look at each system, the listing system and your pending system. How many touches? And a touch to me is by phone. First of all, the relationship is by phone. No one's ever going to call and say, I want to list my house with you guys. You're so awesome at your email. So it's by phone. And then is it follow-up emails about call, email, call? Here's what I called you about. Here's an email, because people only listen to 25% of what you say because they're under a lot of stress selling their house or buying a house or, going through a contract. So you have to look at where is the customer looking at and saying, wow, this is really value. This is a value add system here that they're giving to us. So what's one thing that you're not doing that you should do? What's that one thing? And then you start to say, well, what's another thing? And you think about what the value that you have to bring when they're paying 6% of the value of their home on a listing. You'll never get hit in the head because you contact them too much. You'll never get them to say, I want to, withdraw my listing because you tell us too much about the market. There's no way. There's no way. So,
and I think it's so important. I was reading an article in Inman today about communication and how you can increase the level of satisfaction and the level of the relationship when you communicate with people the way they want to be communicated with. So when I read that, I said, well, that's interesting. So number one, we have to be asking, right? How do you want to be communicated with? And then we also need to be following up because they've never sold a house before. They've never listed a house before. If they have, it's been a long time, right? Every 10 years, Monica, isn't that the statistic? Yeah. And so are we checking back in to say, hey, at the beginning of the transaction, you said you wanted to be communicated with via email or text or phone. Is that still your communication preference, knowing what you know now? To make sure that we're continuing to offer that high level of customer experience, because that's what they're going to remember at the end of the transaction when they talk to their friends and family.
Absolutely. And I still say, though, you need to say too, and Brindley, we talk about this in the Perfect Operations team. When they say they want to be contacted by text only, you say, I so respect that. There might be a time, maybe once a week, every now and then, that I would need to have a conversation. What is the best time and the phone number to reach you at?
Absolutely.
So, for example, in San Diego, we'd work with people at Life Technologies and Qualcomm, and they can't have their cell phones on only at lunchtime. So we know we can only call them at lunch or after 5:30. So you just say, when would be a good time if I did need to reach out and have a quick conversation with you?
Absolutely. So, there should be a standard, a minimum of one voice-to-voice a week. That's not just leaving a voicemail either. If you get voicemail, you keep calling until you have a voice-to-voice conversation, because Monica's absolutely right. That's where the relationship's built. Yeah, and you have to remember, whether you're in, Louisiana and maybe you're selling a house for $150,000, they're still paying 6%. They're still paying $9,000. Yeah. Whether it's $1 million in San Diego or something, it's $60,000. So it's all relative. It's still 6% of the value. Yeah. And that's a lot of money, whether you're 150 or you're $1 million. Yeah. So we have to respect that. Mm-hmm. And some of you are probably thinking, well, we don't get the whole 6%. Well, they look at you that you do, because they signed the contract to cough up 6%. So whether you keep it all or not, they don't care. It's still 6%. They don't remember how the commission is dispersed or any of that. So let's talk real quick. So what I would suggest, and Brindley will jump into, is you take your listing system and you take it from the pre-list package, analyze that. If it hasn't been updated, update it. Yes. Don't have one, get one. Yep. Second thing is you go through your listing checklist, your communication checklist, everything from your sign company giving great service, and really look at the vendors that you're using and just analyze. And by the way, are you sending a thank you for listing with us letter? Are you sending a thank you note? When do you do that? Are you giving him market updates once a week? What are you not doing that in that listing system? What else, Brindley, in that listing system? Well, I would say, number one, as we integrate more technology into our businesses, are we telling our customers about it? Are we setting the expectations around what are going to be automated emails, what they're going to remind them of, how important it is to read those emails? So if you're using Command, do you have Command in your pre-list? It's a selling point. It's a value add. We have technology behind us so that we can spend more time with the people in your file, with you, chasing lenders, chasing title companies, chasing escrow. Like, do you have that in your pre-list? And then really taking your lifeline from, and I go all the way back to the lead, but we're sticking to listing and pending here. Start with that pre-list And like Monica said, build your lifeblood or life flow of a listing all the way to the end of closing.
Right.
How many times does a human have to touch it? Because when a human gets involved and there's human interaction, the system stops and a new one begins.
Yeah.
So look at every single aspect throughout the process in the system. When is a human having to step in? And is there a way to automate the first system prior to that first human interaction that you can automate it further so that you don't have to start a new system? And I think that's the biggest one that I'm seeing, is that we've duct taped our businesses together with this system and this system and this system. And we haven't gone back to say, wait, did this system change and can now do this?
Right.
And we can use one instead of two?
So then the next thing in the listing system is obviously the price reduction.
Yes.
Okay, so you need a system there. So moving on to the pending system is that first call and passing the baton correctly, so that you, if you're a transaction coordinator listening, is that you know if they're happy or sad, their motivation, you know if they have kids, you know if they're illness, they lost a job, they're moving, they're not happy about the move, whatever. What is the situation before you pick up that phone? And then looking at how you're communicating, because you do have to hold their hands. And just because they sold their house, are you doing a great job of saying, here are the things that we need to work through on the next 20, like in California, 21 days, and letting them know that that buyer can walk away anytime they want and get their deposit back in 21 days. Got to make that clear. It's not a done deal. They think it's a done deal. You know, they think they get the deposit if they walk away. Not necessarily. No. Not till all the contingencies are removed. Then they can still walk away. So, you know, they leave the deposit, but that's still another thing. So in that closing, you know, looking at that checklist, looking at the communication, making sure. We had a problem one time that we didn't double check that the earnest money had been received. The deal went south. The seller goes, well, I get my money back. And I said, absolutely, because the contingencies have been removed. Guess who ended up paying back that money to him?
How was that? How did that feel?
We paid half, and the TC that we used at the time paid half, the company. But what a nightmare that was. That never happened again on my watch. So it's just those little things. Do you double check that the earnest money got received? I mean, that's just.
But is your system set up to remind you to check it, right? Like, are you using your systems? Like, I had a conversation with a client today. I said, do you know what's at risk if you miss a deadline? And she's like, oh, you know, they have to pay or whatever. I'm like, no, they're in breach of contract, right? They're now on the hook for the entire amount of that contract that's written. That's how much ownership you've got to take in the file. And then going back to price improvements, I think this is a big one that we see, that successful teams are setting the expectation for price improvements up front. And they're doing it because they're market experts and they're able to back it with data, right? Based on how property is moving off the market, on the market, and so on and so forth. So if you're a market expert, you can nail down those price improvements to start, right?
So let me just wind out the script. So Brindley, thanks for signing the contract. The only thing that I want to share one thing. The only thing that we're going to be testing is the price. Our marketing plan works 100%. And so in the next 2 weeks, you'll have lots of showings or no showings. If we've had no showings and lots of showings and no offer, we know that we need a price improvement. At that point, we'll get back together with a new CMA and compare it with the last one, so that we don't chase the market down and you lose valuable equity. You do want that, right? You do want to be informed, right, Brindley? So basically, they set it up at the listing presentation, and a listing manager should never be the one who introduces a price improvement. It should be set up at the listing presentation once the listing is signed.
Absolutely.
So the question is, are you doing all of these things in your listing system, in your pending system? Take one system and put it in your schedule to start to dissect it.
One a week, one every 2 weeks. The last thing that I'll say about the pending, Monica, that you were touching on, is we're not collecting feedback soon enough. We're waiting until the end of the transaction and we can't fix it. We can't fix it at closing, right? So asking for the survey, the review, waiting till closing to ask for all of that, you're stuck with what you have. If you ask continually throughout the transaction, you can fix it and you can make sure you have a happy buyer or seller at the end, not one.
Yeah, which reminds me, so we're going to respect everybody's time. Let's talk about the promise next week and how the TC and the listing manager ask every week. So how are we doing on our customer service on a scale of 1 to 10?
I love that. I love that.
We'll
Guys,
talk about that next week.
Monica, tell them how to sign up.
They go to mapscoaching.com and there is a perfect real estate assistant. They sign up. It's for agents and assistants, and love to have you on the calls. Totally great. And then once you've gone through that class, and you go to the perfect operations team. So we have a lot of things for you to stay educated. And believe me, the more, you know, if you're an agent listening, you invest in your team. And if you're an assistant or a listing manager, TC, this camaraderie and listening and masterminding ideas and really hearing some really great tools. We give you blueprints. They're not perfect, but they're blueprints, and you take them from there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Guys, if you want to give us topics for Leverage Live, you can email Monica at monicareynolds.com, Brindley at brindleytucker.com, brindley@brindleytucker.com, and we will see you guys next week. Bye.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Brindley. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.